Everybody, welcome Thomas.
Oh God. Hello. My name is Thomas. I am an alcoholic and an addict. Hello. I have been sober since October 28th of 2019, and by the grace of God, and for that I am extremely thankful. When I was asked to share my story, you would have thought that I was asked to be the Grand Marshal of the Pride Parade. I was like, me? Sure. And then reality set in, and I was like, oh God, what did I just sign up for? So I'm going to do my best to channel my inner Susie Orman or Tony Robbins. And on that note, welcome to my TED Talk. I am born and raised here in Dallas, Texas. I've lived here my whole life. I was very fortunate to go to private school here. If you know anything about private school kids, we are deceivingly wild. I had my first drink when I was 15. I was at spring break in Austin with two of my girlfriends, and we decided to break into her dad's liquor closet, and he had Grey Goose, so we were very fancy. And they made me a lemon drop martini, and I instantly got drunk, and I could not say frequent flyer miles. It's a very tough word to say when you're intoxicated. And from then on, I mean, it was just the best thing ever. Growing up, my mother was a flight attendant for Delta. She was a flight attendant for 34 years. She also suffered from alcoholism. She passed away when I was 21, and that's when really the culmination of everything that I had gone through in my teenage years really started to bubble up under the surface now that I was legally of age to drink. So due to my mother being a flight attendant, I was able to get her survivor benefits. I had to be under 23 and in school full time. So I enrolled in hair school. Simultaneously, I was working at a restaurant in Uptown Dallas. So the combination of being in hair school around a bunch of hairstylists and also working in the service industry, naturally, I was a very well-behaved individual. Not. I was really swept up in just being able to work really hard. I am very professional. I love what I do. I love working with people. I love being around people. But it takes a toll out of me being, I guess, an extroverted individual. I loved the service industry aspect of life because I could work really hard and then go out at night and relieve all of my anger and frustrations with a lot of other like-minded individuals and just drink and do a lot of extracurricular activities with zero remorse. And then simultaneously, while I'm in hair school, you're also around a bunch of other crazy people who love to drink and party. I mean, it's a rock star lifestyle. So the combination of being a hairstylist and also being in the service industry was a wonderful formula for me to just really go buck wild at all times. I thoroughly enjoy the nightlife. I love to boogie. And so I just really loved being out and seeing people and making friends and making connections and going to parties and doing underground parties and all of the things that Dallas nightlife has to offer. Because this is such a social city, because we don't have any nature to provide us, we turn around and we are very social, right? We have constant events and parties to go to, and I loved every aspect of it. Through my 20s, it was really just kind of a fog at this point. Once I had graduated from hair school, I still continued to work at restaurants. I got a job at a really well-known salon here in town. And I was very fortunate to have that experience. And it went well for about a year while I was in my assistant program there, but my extracurricular activities started to catch up to me. And I wasn't able to really fulfill a lot of my responsibilities at that salon, and I really cracked under the pressure. And I left the salon, and I just thought, well, I can still be very successful and make a lot of money in a short amount of time working in restaurants. and still not have any repercussions from drinking all the time because it's just the nature of the beast. So I went back to food and beverage, and I worked in hospitality for a very long time, and I went up the ranks really quickly from being a host to an event coordinator to a restaurant manager. And again, still under the guise of being able to drink and party and do all the things that I could do while still actively do my job and actually be very good at both. I mean, I was high functioning and I was really good at it. So, that lasted for so long, I mean, too long, in my honest opinion, up until, recently. I was in my early 30s. I was working as a restaurant manager, and my sous chef at this restaurant I was working at was also my dealer. And there was an incident that happened where I was assaulted after work. We got into a little altercation, and he assaulted me in the parking lot of this restaurant. And I ultimately ended up getting fired because I was a liability at that point. And that should have been a wake-up call, but it wasn't. I just picked myself up by my bootstraps and said, I'm big enough, I'm strong enough, I'm faster enough. Clearly that's not the case because I got my ass beat. But, I just thought I'll just keep moving on to the next venture and continue to do what I do best, which is work with people and just put on a happy face. So I got a job at a really fantastic concept down at the American Airlines Center in June of 2019. And then that job it took a lot out of me. It really did. Still trying to get over what had happened to me, because I've never been in a physical altercation in my life. I mean, I don't get beat up. So that was really hard on my psyche, on top of how demanding this job was. And as things started to progress, my alcoholism and dependency on drugs got exponentially worse. I had made a couple of geographical changes in my time. I'd moved to Houston a few years ago thinking that all of my problems would disappear, and that's actually where my problems gained a lot of muscle. And not realizing it, I moved back to Dallas and then really started the quick snowball of me not doing well in any way, shape, or form. I had zero integrity. I had zero self-respect. I had zero self-worth. I had no spirituality, and so the progressive disease of alcoholism and drug addiction really sped up very quickly in my life. So by the time I was in my early 30s, this is when things started to become very apparent, and this was the beginning of the end for me. All I can say is I don't really know how to describe what happened the last night that I was out, but it had culminated to, of course, staying up all night and making terrible decisions. And then it started to affect me professionally. And that's what I absolutely will not stand for. So the day that it came to fruition that I was officially affected by my progressive disease and my major allergy to drugs and alcohol, I literally just woke up one day and I said, I can't do this anymore. This has got to change for now and for the better. And I had to tell my job I'm not coming in today because I need to seek treatment for drugs and alcohol. And then things got very real. I mean, once you say it out loud, I was like, well, I can't call them and be like, I'm just kidding, I was going through something. That it becomes very real. And so I had to take immediate action. I called my best friend who was in the program and I said, today's the day. I'm going to seek treatment for my issues. And she raced right over to my apartment and she was like, I'm so excited. I've been waiting for this day for so long. And she spilled her heart out to me about how she would view me as a sober person in my active addiction and alcoholism. And it broke my heart to hear the true nature of what I was like back in the day. And so then I had to tell my parents. And whenever I tell my parents anything, when I say, I need to talk to you, they go, oh boy, what'd you do now? My parents are truly amazing. I'm blessed with an amazing family. My family's here, which is amazing. I mean, I couldn't be happier that I have the most amazing supportive family, I think, in the city of Dallas. No offense. There were two things that I always knew would happen to me in my life. One being that I would eventually become HIV positive, and two, that I would always probably end up going to rehab. Both of those things happened. So, when I had to have the conversation with my parents that I needed to seek treatment, this wasn't really anything out of the ordinary as far as I was concerned. I had come out to my parents when I was 17 or 18, and they were extremely supportive. Having to tell my parents that I was HIV positive was actually probably the toughest day of my life, tougher than telling them I struggled with drugs and alcohol. Because the day that I came out to my parents, my dad just said, "Please be safe." And they both gave me a huge hug, and I'll never forget that day. The day I had to tell them that I was HIV positive went a lot like I thought it was going to be when I came out to them initially. So sitting down and telling them that I have a problem with drugs and alcohol, they were floored as far as I'm concerned, because I was really good at lying. For many years. And, once I had come clean and told them that I needed to seek treatment because I couldn't do it on my own, my dad just looked at me and he was like, "You can't do this on your own, correct?" I said, "Correct. I am not capable of doing this on my own. I need professional help." He said, "Okay, let's do this." So my stepmom, Kathy, my father, and I sat down and we figured out the right plan of action to take, and I'm extremely grateful for the patience that they showed me throughout that time. I stayed at their house for 3 days, so that was essentially my time to detox, and they were extremely attentive and caring. And then I found a treatment center here in Dallas. I spent about 8 days there, and then I was able to transfer to a treatment center in South Texas outside of San Antonio called La Hacienda. It's an amazing establishment. And when I walked into La Hacienda, I was very chipper. I was like, "Hello, I'm here for treatment." They were like, "Are you sure you need to be here?" I was like, "Yes, I do." And from the moment I stepped on the grounds of that treatment center, I just became a giant sponge. I couldn't learn enough about this disease. I learned so much about just the nature of the beast. I am extremely allergic. It actually was passed down to me genetically. And I was just so enamored by all of the people who work there who were just so caring and understanding, and all the various types of people that I was in treatment with. I was just enamored with everyone's stories and everyone's outlook on life, and just the wonderful approach that you can have to a new life in sobriety. I thought that once I got sober, my life would be over. Essentially, I would be so boring, and I wasn't going to be the fun, vivacious person I am today. But that's clearly not true. God has given me the grace to have a second opportunity at life, and actually, this life that I have sober, even though I'm almost 2 years in, has been the most fulfilling 1.5 2 years of my life. I go to as many meetings as possible. I've been able to meet the most amazing people here in the fellowship. A lot of the riffraff that I used to run around with just naturally fell off. I thought I was gonna have to get a new phone number, all that jazz. And I didn't have to do any of that. All of the negative people that I used to hang around with, once I wasn't able to supply drugs and alcohol to them, they just moved on to somebody else, which I'm grateful for. They didn't have any lingering phone calls, those random haze text messages. I'm like, I'm at work. What are you doing with your day? So here in sobriety, life is amazing. I have an amazing sponsor. He's actually down in Austin. I lived in Austin for sober living after I got out of treatment, and then COVID hit. So I am actually really amazed at the timing of things. God really does have a sense of humor, because as soon as I got out of treatment, I had to really apply all of these principles that I had learned in sobriety during this quarantine and this lockdown, because so many people that we know, I'm sure, weren't as strong as we needed to be during something like that, being locked up in our house, no communication. I'm an emotional creature. I need to be around people. I need to see and speak to people at all times. I like to give hugs, and not being able to do that was really hard on me, but I perfected the art of taking a nap, which is fantastic. And I was really able to learn and actually practice all of the principles that I had learned in this program. Every single one of these principles and promises came true as soon as I decided to get sober. And I was able to spend day after day reading my big book and talking to my sponsor and talking to others in the fellowship. And that's what was able to get me through something as intense as quarantine and lockdown. You know, when the world is on fire, of course, the first thing I want to do is act like it doesn't exist and drink the problems away and do as many drugs as possible to make sure that, you know, if it's out of sight, out of mind, and I don't have to worry about it, I don't have to think about it, I don't have to talk about it. But here I am. All of these emotions and realities are coming up from my past, present, and then, you know, what I'm going to have to deal with in the future as a sober person. And it was just truly amazing to be able to say that what I learned in treatment, what I've learned in this reality, this new reality of sobriety, could get me through something as intense as a quarantine, lockdown, COVID situation, which was really insane. So today, life is amazing. I really can't express that enough. I'm completely enamored every single day. I wake up and I immediately pray to God and say, thank you for another breath, for another day sober, for the fact that the sky is blue, the sun exists. That doesn't have to happen. That can all be taken away in an instant. You know, today is always guaranteed, tomorrow is not. And that's all by the grace of God. I'm just really in love with being able to go to 2 meetings a week, 3 meetings a week, 4 meetings a week, 2 meetings a day. However, if I'm not doing well, I know I need to go to a meeting. I have to keep my spiritual tank full at all times, or else I am not doing well. I'm not contributing to society. I'm not being a spiritual individual, and I'm not practicing patience, tolerance, all of the things that we need to do in order to show up and be the person that God would have me be every day. When I was in the restaurant industry, I had a mentor who taught me, you know, of course, every guest, every time, and to do the right thing for the right reason. I've been able to flip that and realize that I need to practice every step, every time, and continue to do the right thing for the right reason, because that is how I need to show up in a way of love in order to remain sober, to be the man that God would have me be, because the grace that I've received from God in this new life of sobriety is amazing, and I don't want to take it for granted, and I don't want to destroy it because I'm being selfish for a split second, because I don't like the way things are going, therefore I'm going to choose to go drink over it. You know, I have a living amends every single day that I make to my family. You know, I spend a lot of time being very deceptive and seen but not heard. Heard but not seen, because you know, the phone is fantastic. You can FaceTime, but I don't have to necessarily be there in person. But now I like to be there in person. I like to show up and be a brother, a son, a good uncle to my nieces and nephews. I like to be an example to those around me. You know, I work at a hair salon. People are insane. They're actively drinking and using. So if I can be somewhat of a beacon of hope to all of these crazy people who are in their active addiction and alcoholism, if I can show them that there is a way to be successful and to be happy and to be content sober, I want to do that. And I always feel like that is the constant calling that I have in this life, because I don't want to take anything for granted. I spent so long taking things for granted, and it could have been taken away from me. So in the end of it all, you know, I think the most amazing thing that we have is all of these tools. We have the amazing big book. We have each other. We have the constant relationship that we have with our higher power to get us through these daily struggles. I mean, it's really easy for me to be consumed by these worldly issues that we have going on. But at the end of the day, we have to remember that we can just be content. I was just in church, and the amazing message was, you can pick which tent you want to live in. Do you want to be content, or would you like to be discontent? And, you know, I the whole time I was listening to the pastor speak, I was like, wow, you know, am I restless, irritable, and discontent? You know, I lived in that tent for a very long time. And now I'm very content. You know, I don't need millions of dollars to be happy. I don't need to be known by every single person in this city to be happy. You know, I have a loving and supportive family. I have a great network of friends. You know, I play softball with a bunch of amazing gay, sober individuals, and we are not very good, but we are trying. We are trying our best. And so these tools and these gifts and these promises really do come true and they come into fruition. And it's not easy. I mean, we all know this, it's not easy, but it takes work. And it's in that work that I feel very fulfilled. Even the simple fact that I'm living a way I never used to. My laundry's always hung up. My dishes are always put away. My apartment's clean constantly. I have a dog that I take care of. I call him my sobriety dog, because if I don't stay sober, who's going to keep that dog alive? And it's just really fulfilling every single moment of every single day, knowing that I can wake up sober, act my day, show up in a way of love, remember every step, every time, as best as I can. I'm not perfect. And go to bed sober and thanking God for every single minute of that. The book that I have, the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, the edition that I have, I think is truly amazing, because I'm going to paraphrase, the last sentence in the last paragraph on the last page of the book says something that completely blew my mind. When I read that in treatment, that's when the light came on, and that's when I had my aha moment. And it says, I was living in a fantasy world, and the gentle hand of AA led me back into reality. And in that moment, I am at peace with myself, with others, and with God. And I can truly say, to this day, I am very much at peace with myself. I'm very much at peace with others in this world, as much as I try to be, but that's where patience and tolerance comes in. And I'm very much at peace with God, because without God, none of this would be possible. And so I'm just very grateful for this moment. Thank you guys for bearing with me through my story. I'm extremely nervous. I have never done this before. This is my very first time. And I look forward to seeing you guys through all of our journeys in sobriety. And thank you.